Well, hello everybody. As promised, I have just returned from a trip with my family on the Norwegian Epic, and I have a review of that experience. It was an 8-day and 7-night cruise that we took, and so many of you are involved or looking into cruises. It's our #1 thing that we offer at Thrive Vacations. It's our most popular entertainment package, and so I want to make sure that we give you all of the information that you might need to be able to make an informed decision for your upcoming vacation. So many people get excited about the Norwegian Epic because it is one of the mega ships, the new mega ships, which just means there's so much going on. There's so many things to do, and the ship is just incredibly large. And so, people get really excited about that. I wanted to let you know every single cruise line has its own unique experience, and Norwegian is no different. And so we'll talk about that today. I'm going to talk to you about 5 or 6 components of the cruise: the food, the dining, the entertainment, the service, and some different things that you might want to know if you're planning a trip or entertaining the Norwegian Epic anytime soon. So first, let's talk food, because people go to cruises and they say, hey, I don't want to do a thing. I don't want to cook anything. I don't want to prepare anything. I go on a cruise to completely relax and have people take care of me. You will be pleasantly surprised on the Norwegian Epic. The food was great. There's a couple of things to note when you go on a cruise. There's some main dining spaces, things like the main cafeteria style space. And then there are specialty dinings. Those are the specialty restaurants, which often charge a premium for you to attend. And then there's kind of general evening dining, and the flow of Norwegian is very different because it is considered freestyle. So I'll talk quickly about those. So in the main dining space, where you kind of eat your breakfast and lunch and sometimes dinner if you like, it's more buffet style, was fantastic. There's food prep stations, kind of personalized stations, so you can have things like make your own omelets, make your own pastas, and even make your own soup. I found a nice variety of foods. So there was some South Asian cuisine, and there was crepes, and then there was sort of this make your own station and a typical American meal in some spaces. So that was really lovely. The thing to note in the main dining spaces, there's not a ton of seating, and so especially when you get on board that first day, it is chaos. It's just people everywhere, and so you'll find if you can tuck yourself either in the outside or in the very front of the ship, you'll find some seating spaces there, but it does get chaotic. So make sure that you try to dine in an off time, because that will just save your life and your nerves, trust me. And the other specialty dining options there were a couple of specialty dining options on board. There's a steakhouse, there's a Brazilian flair, there's Le Bistro, which is French inspired. There's lots and lots of choices on board, and we got the pleasure to go to the Italian restaurant. We did the circus performance, which I'll talk about a little later, and we also did teppanyaki, which was the Japanese inspired cuisine, and it was wonderful. Probably our favorite of the entire specialty suite. We didn't get to try them all, but was surprisingly the circus show. It had steak and salmon if you weren't a steak eater, and shrimp, and it was probably the best seasoned steak, y'all, I've ever had in my life. I feel crazy saying that, at the circus show. It was amazing. So it was not sort of the quick meal that you would expect sometimes in those dinner theater style shows. It was great. It wasn't, though, a place where you're going to get a menu and select. It's a pre-selected menu, so it was really, really nice. Anyways, so that was the specialty dining. I think you'll find that the specialty dining is just kind of one notch in both service, attention to detail, and the choices and the care that they take in preparing that food. So that was a really nice surprise. So let's move on to accommodations. Of all of the cruises that we've ever taken, and it's probably close to 15 or maybe even 20 by now, the accommodation that we had on the Norwegian Epic was probably the worst. Not gonna lie to you here. We always do balconies, and so that we can have a really beautiful view. And even as a travel agent, I got an obstructed view balcony, which was the biggest boo, because I did not do the kind of room that you don't know what you're getting. So I got an obstructed view, which was really horrible. We went out into the balcony, and instead of just kind of seeing the ocean and opening up the doors, it was like you go out to the balcony and then there's a porthole. So please know that if you're on the very front or the very rear of a ship, you are probably getting an obstructed view. And, you know, normally for my clients, I do a ton of research, and sometimes I let my guard down when we're going on our own family vacations. And this is one of those times. I don't always get it right. And this is one time where I missed it with double, triple checking what kind of view and accommodation there would be in my specific room. So please, please, please don't get a balcony in the front of the ship if you are hoping for a beautiful view, because we were disappointed. I felt like I didn't even really have a balcony view, to be honest with you. I was nervous that my kids would kind of step up on the balcony and fall over. I mean, it was just a real big mess. So in addition to that, subpar in the sense that there was very, very, very small amount of space in this room. I knew cruises are not known for having really spacious accommodations, and so I get that. But this was probably the tightest of all of the accommodations. We had 2 people in our room, and the room next to us, our kiddos, and our traveling companion had 3, and it was miserable. The amount of drawer space was very, very small. The moving space was very small. But probably the worst decision of all was Norwegian's new design to take their bathrooms and separate them. So you have a rolling door, kind of a sliding door with the toilet on one side, a sliding door with the shower on one side, separated by the hallway to go out. And then as you come out, completely standalone and isolated is your sink, which is only a few inches away from the foot of your bed or the couch, whatever side. They're opposites. Each room is opposite. It was horrible. Norwegian needs to understand, hello, Norwegian, people do not want to be disrupted with noise while you are sleeping. And somebody washing their hands, numero uno, bad, bad, bad. So do not expect fantastic accommodations at the Norwegian Epic. If you are a light sleeper, you will hate it, because the roll of the door for the bathrooms, the toilet and the shower, and the sound of the sink was horrible. It was horrible. I don't know who thought about that, but it was not the right thought. So that is a perspective there on accommodations. Be careful that you are choosing another option, a suite location, or if you know what, if those things don't bother you, then more power to you. So for the entertainment, there was 2 shows on board. One was Priscilla of the Desert, and the other one was Burn the Floor. Norwegian is known for this wonderful production of Burn the Floor, and on a cruise many years ago, was our very first Norwegian cruise, and was the best entertainment of Burn the Floor I have ever seen. And I have to tell you that this version of Burn the Floor was very different. It was quite provocative. It was a little dark. I sat in it, and my kids had asked to attend. My kids are still a little young, 10 and 7. And so my husband and I sat in it, sort of kind of seeing if it would be appropriate for them. And we were so grateful that we didn't bring them. There were just scenes that were a little weird, and it took the beauty and the talent and really overshadowed it by a really weird storyline, and super provocative. I mean, Norwegian's really pushing it here. I mean, like full on gyrating on stage. And so I felt like that really took away. I mean, Norwegian brings some of the best dancers I've ever seen, classically trained, ballroom, wonderful. I mean, when I watched Burn the Floor the first time, my jaw was to the ground. And this time I left going, I wouldn't see that twice. And so it's not because the dancers weren't good. They were amazing. It was really more of this storyline and not being family focused. I can't overshadow the fact that I was extremely disappointed that there wasn't some real shows that were really family oriented, or that were kind of safe for smaller ears. I'm not talking put a cartoon on. I'm just saying give me something that I don't have to have long talks and explanations to my kids about. So come on, Norwegian, get it together. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, was obviously anything that has a disclaimer that says if you're easily offended, do not attend this event. I probably opt not to. So just so you know, full disclosure, we err on the side of caution, and I didn't. So I can't give you a full detailed explanation of that, but you can look it up and see for yourself if it's something you might enjoy. I heard people complaining about it, and I heard people raving about it, so that one you will have to see for yourself. I will note that we went to the Cirque du Epicurean or something like that show on board, and it was the dinner theater I was telling you about earlier. It had acts of balancing and juggling and a little bit of comedy. It was all silent comedy, and you know, kind of trapeze and that kind of thing, and there was even some roller skaters there. It was great. The people that I was dining with just said, wow, like that was probably the best thing there was on this ship. And again, it wasn't because of skill. They were great. They did a great job, but it was just family friendly, and it was entertaining, and it was engaging. Let's talk quickly as we transition into the kids' areas, because we did have our little ones with us. They love the Splash Academy, which is what Norwegian calls their kids line. They love the kids' entertainment on ships, and so they have given us and provided us this portion of the evaluation. But let me just talk quickly about check-in. So Norwegian does it where you kind of do this long check-in process. You wait in this long line, and then you sit at these tables and have this kind of one-on-one service about your kids. You talk all about who they are and their allergies and blah, blah, blah. Okay, come on, Norwegian. There's thousands of people on this ship. Speed is the name of the game. I know you're trying to give some concierge service, and I loved it, but you need to get some in the middle because time was not working on your side. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes to get from the, you know, like getting on the boat and the check-in process to when we were actually getting our kids checked in and walking away with their wristbands. Way too long. Not a great experience for starting that. In terms of the kids program itself, my kids really do love it. However, on 2 of the nights right smack dab in the middle of the cruise, they said, no, thank you, we're kind of bored. And so please give yourselves and your kiddos a way to communicate with you and to speak openly and honestly. They have a really great curriculum, different themes every day. We did not take advantage of the daytime activities as much as the evening ones because Norwegian threw me for a little loop and had some pay to play fees during the day, particularly the port days. On some other cruise lines, that is not a fee, and so you should know that. Most of the things are fully included with cruises. Every now and then you get these monkey wrenches. This was one of them. So keep that in mind if that is something your kiddos are interested in doing. So kids was, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was probably a 7, maybe a 6, but probably a 7, just because of my own kiddos' feedback. So that's their experience. They also, my little one, he's a little sensitive, did talk about, you know, some instances of bullying, which the staff addressed, but, you know, it's always one of those things. You're up in the air. These are not people that you really know, and it wasn't very serious, but I just do want to talk about that. Let's talk quickly. I have 2 more things, service and safety. So service, all around the ship, you find great service. I mean, that is the name of the game. People are coming in often from other countries, just an incredible standard of service. I think you'll find that on par. Here's the deal though. If you are used to cruises, because again, I was talking earlier about the freestyle style of Norwegian. If you are used to the service where you sit down, you have the same kind of wait staff every night, you get to know them, you know them personally, you know their kids, you know where they're from, you will be disappointed with Norwegian because the whole idea of freestyle cruising is that you can sit down and eat wherever you want, whenever you want, and you get to chart your own journey. With that being said, you don't get the same people day after day, and so you get that, you get the service, but you do get the lack of connection, which is a little tough. People are used to like knowing the names of the people that, you know, that they're kind of sitting with, or your room attendant and things like that. And so you do feel a little bit less of a connection. All around the ship, people were friendly. But I do have to tell you, Norwegian is really big on policy. So if you need some exceptions, if you want to try to, you know, do something that's just a teeny weeny bit not wrong but off script, and you ask somebody for it, they're gonna pretty much point you to policy. Excuse me, as an example, we asked on many of the cruise ships, you have not adjoining rooms, right? Because those go really, really fast. So if you want an adjoining room, call me right away. But on the balconies, you can open the balconies so that people can walk through the balconies. Well, Norwegian has created a policy, and it's for safety, that you can't do that. And so those are the kinds of things that you have, these kind of weird things that you know can be done because they're in other places. But Norwegian has policies, and people are very, very tight to the policy. Here's the biggest thing that was more annoying and frustrating than it was anything wrong from the cruise, and not to take this anyway, but there were so many instances on this cruise where you needed to sign up or pre-do something that you had no idea about. So for example, there was an Escape the Big Top. It was an activity. Only about 30 or 40 people could attend, and it was an escape room sort of feel, completely free. But you need to sign up for it. So as soon as you walk on ship, and if you have all of your reservations already, your entertainment already, you're not thinking about going to the touch screens that are sporadically put throughout the ship, or you're not thinking about going to the box office to sign up for anything because you're already completely signed up. Well, unbeknownst to you, you are not completely signed up. There's that's still available. There's also tenders. I hate tender boats, which is basically when your cruise ship is too large to fit inside of a port. So they put you on another boat to bring you to, whether it's the private island or maybe even, you know, in our case, it was the Grand Cayman Islands. You have to take a boat that brings you to your location. Well, let me just say this, Norwegian, please listen. There were way too many people on our ship to accommodate the growing activities and people who needed tenders. So everything took about 45 minutes to an hour longer than it should have because the ship was over capacity. Come on, Norwegian. This isn't about an experience. And you know, people like me are going to tell the truth to my clients and friends. And here you are putting the ship over capacity. Every conversation that I overheard as I was walking throughout the ship and we got off and did excursions was people who were incredibly frustrated because the way that this ship was built is if every room is sold, if it's at full capacity, there's actually too many people for the amount of activities on board. That means that everybody on board can't go to the entertainment. They can't be dining at one time. They certainly can't get off the boat and on the boat at any reasonable amount of time. It means that if the ship is actually sailing at capacity, that everybody can't do everything. Now, that was a first. And I was with the crowd here, really frustrated that Norwegian would design a mega ship with, to be truthful, maybe three decks that have public space and entertainment, sort of like, excuse me, the main casino deck and art deck was like, took up this gigantic amount of this ship. So very little shops on board, very little public spaces, very little sitting spaces. There was an atrium, it was fairly small. There was mainly 3 decks where people could move out and about, and that was it. Everything else was sleeping rooms, which means people didn't have a lot of space to go. Norwegian, you got this one wrong. The layout of this ship, the layout of the rooms, not good. Not good. If you are really looking for, if you're the kind of person that gets on board and you're like, I want to go to every trivia. I want to go to everything. I want to go to every belly flop contest. I think you're going to be disappointed. And I know every ship's entertainment is largely dependent upon the cruise director's staff. There wasn't a lot of options. There was a lot of trivia. There was a lot of things on main screens, but there weren't a lot of, you know, I've been on ships where you do scavenger hunts or you do name that tune or people are doing lots of karaoke. There was certainly every time there's the newlywed games and there's this and that every time. That's every cruise. But I'm talking about the things that really make it special. This one didn't hit it out of the park. By and large, I want you to hear just an honest feedback because I wasn't upset about the cruise. We had a great time. It was relaxing. It did its trick. But there's all these like small little things that people, you know, by and large are left with. And so at the end of the day, I think you'll find that this review for my experience, and they knew full well that I was a travel agent. And at one point I said, why would they do this? They know that I'm an agent and I'm going to share. So at one point I just said, you know, I think some people really need to understand beautiful ship, great itinerary, 4 stops in it, but they were not ready. In fact, the staff did say that just before we got on our cruise, like just before, the day before, it was a repositioning cruise, which just means that the cruise is coming from one location. In this case, it was the Mediterranean, and going to another location. So it made the trek across, and then boom, it put all of these passengers on, and it wasn't ready. The staff wasn't, you know, they didn't have enough staff beefed up and ready. They didn't have enough trained people ready for all of us to get on that boat. And so they really missed it. Norwegian, please prepare yourself next time for such a major holiday with all of these people. In terms of safety, we felt more than safe. Everybody was happy and healthy. Muster drill was easy. It felt calming. We didn't have any issues with people, you know, sort of running the halls, although it didn't look like people were necessarily securely stationed all over the place, but we had no issues with that. So I think both from shore and land, you'll find them to be perfectly fine there. And then, yay, for your dining options, Norwegian, you always get the make your own stations right, which is a huge thing of what I look for in customization. So all in all, I think you'll find that as long as you're not going in a peak time of year, you might be able to experiment with the Norwegian Epic. Certainly if it's a smaller sailing, maybe 5 days or less, I would experiment with the Norwegian Epic. But if it is at full capacity, or if you are stuck in a room with an obstructed view, or if you have finicky children, or if you are offended easily with any forms of entertainment, let's choose another option. And let's also do that if you're a super thrill seeker and you want some nice strong entertainment. Let's also maybe choose another option. So, all right, I hope that helps you. And I'm Taisha with Thrive Vacations, thrivevacations.com. When you are ready to book or even look at some other options, we've been on, like I said, a ton of cruises, a ton of different cruise lines. When you're ready, you let one of our expert team members know, and we can get you to the right cruise, one that has the right feel and vibe for what you are hoping for your vacation. It's a big thing that we have a lot of investment money that we spend, so we wanted to be the exact right one. So you call us and our team at thrivevacations.com.